Aaron Mendoza stood frozen in the doorway of his apartment, watching his roommate Noah Baker curled up on their shared couch, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. The sight hit him like a physical blow, the careful distance he had maintained for months crumbling in an instant. Noah looked so small, so broken, clutching a pillow against his chest as if it could hold together the pieces of whatever had shattered inside him. Aaron's heart twisted painfully in his chest. For 2 years and 7 months, he had been Noah's friend, his confidant, his shoulder to cry on when relationships fell apart. He had listened to countless stories about failed dates, about women who didn't understand Noah, about the persistent feeling that something was always missing. Aaron had offered advice with a smile while his own heart quietly broke, knowing he was the missing piece Noah couldn't see. Now, watching Noah fall apart on their couch, Aaron felt the familiar ache intensify into something almost unbearable. Every instinct screamed at him to cross the room, to wrap Noah in his arms and tell him everything would be okay. But Aaron had learned to suppress those instincts, to be the friend Noah needed rather than the lover Aaron desperately wanted to be. Noah looked up as Aaron approached, his eyes red-rimmed and vulnerable in a way that made Aaron's chest tighten. "She broke up with me," Noah whispered, his voice hoarse from crying. "Christine said I was emotionally unavailable, that I was holding back something essential. She said it felt like I was going through the motions." Aaron settled carefully on the opposite end of the couch, maintaining the safe distance that had become second nature. "I'm sorry, Noah. I know you cared about her." "The thing is," Noah continued, wiping at his eyes with the back of his hand, "she wasn't wrong. I was holding back. I just don't understand why. Every relationship feels like I'm wearing a costume that doesn't quite fit, playing a role I can't quite master." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with implications Aaron didn't dare examine too closely. He had heard variations of this confession before, had watched Noah struggle with the same pattern in relationship after relationship. Each time, Aaron had offered comfort and advice while secretly hoping Noah might finally understand what was missing. "Maybe," Aaron said carefully, "you just haven't found the right person yet." Noah's laugh was bitter, broken. "Or maybe there's something fundamentally wrong with me. Maybe I'm just not capable of the kind of love everyone else seems to find so easily." Aaron's hands clenched into fists in his lap, fighting the urge to reach across the space between them. "There's nothing wrong with you, Noah. You're one of the most caring, thoughtful people I know." "Then why does every relationship feel like I'm suffocating?" Noah's voice cracked on the words. "Why do I keep looking for something I can't name? Something that's always just out of reach?" The question hung between them like a bridge neither was ready to cross. Aaron felt his carefully constructed walls beginning to crumble, the weight of his hidden feelings pressing against his chest until he could barely breathe. This was the moment he had dreaded and longed for in equal measure. The conversation that could change everything or destroy the most important relationship in his life. "I don't know, Aaron whispered, the lie tasting bitter on his tongue. Because he did know, had known for months, had watched Noah search for something he already had right in front of him. Noah shifted on the couch, moving closer without seeming to realize it. "Can I ask you something? And will you promise to be honest with me?" Aaron's heart hammered against his ribs. "Of course." "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life? Like you're going through the motions of what you're supposed to want instead of what you actually want?" The question hit Aaron like a lightning bolt, illuminating every hidden corner of his own existence. Because yes, he had felt exactly like that, had spent years pretending to be interested in women while his heart belonged entirely to the man sitting 3 feet away from him. "Sometimes," Aaron admitted, his voice barely audible. Noah's eyes searched his face with an intensity that made Aaron's skin burn. "I've been thinking about that a lot lately, about the difference between what we're supposed to want and what actually makes us happy, about whether I've been lying to myself about who I am." Aaron's breath caught in his throat. The conversation had taken a turn he hadn't expected, moving into territory that felt both terrifying and electric with possibility. "What do you mean?" "I mean," Noah said, his voice dropping to barely above a whisper, "I've been wondering if maybe the reason I can't connect with women the way I'm supposed to is because I'm not supposed to connect with women at all." The words hung in the air between them like a confession. raw and vulnerable and impossible to take back. Aaron felt the world tilt on its axis, everything he thought he knew about Noah, about their friendship, about the careful distance he had maintained, suddenly shifting into a new configuration. Noah, Aaron breathed, his name a prayer and a question all at once. I know it sounds crazy, Noah rushed on, as if the words had been building pressure inside him for months. I know it probably doesn't make sense, but lately when I try to imagine my future, when I think about the person I want to come home to, the person I want to share my life with, he trailed off, his eyes meeting Aaron's with a vulnerability that took Aaron's breath away. It's not a woman I see. Aaron's heart stopped beating entirely, then started again at double speed. The careful walls he had built around his feelings crumbled completely, leaving him exposed and raw and terrified. Because this was everything he had dreamed of and everything he had feared, the moment that could save him or destroy him entirely. Who do you see? Aaron asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. Noah's eyes never left his face. I think you know. The silence stretched between them, heavy with years of unspoken feelings and carefully hidden truths. Aaron felt like he was standing on the edge of a cliff, one step away from either flying or falling, and he didn't know which would happen if he jumped. Aaron, Noah whispered, his name soft and uncertain on Noah's lips. I think I've been in love with you for months, and I was too scared to admit it to myself. The confession hit Aaron like a physical blow, knocking the air from his lungs and leaving him gasping. Because this was everything he had wanted to hear, and everything he had convinced himself would never happen. Noah, his straight roommate, his best friend, the man he had been hopelessly in love with for over 2 years, was sitting on their couch confessing feelings Aaron had only dared to dream about. Aaron started, then stopped, his voice failing him completely. How could he explain that he had been in love with Noah since almost the moment they met? How could he admit that every piece of relationship advice he had given, every shoulder he had offered to cry on, had been both an act of love and an act of self-torture? I know it's probably a shock, Noah continued, misreading Aaron's silence as rejection. I know you probably don't feel the same way, and that's okay. I just couldn't keep pretending anymore. I couldn't keep lying to myself about what I want, about who I want. Noah, stop, Aaron said, finally finding his voice. Just stop talking for a second. Noah's face crumpled, and Aaron realized his words had sounded like rejection. Before Noah could retreat, before he could take back his confession and rebuild the walls between them, Aaron launched himself across the space between them, cupping Noah's face in his hands. I've been in love with you for 2 years and 7 months, Aaron whispered, his thumbs brushing away the tears on Noah's cheeks. Since the day you moved in here and made terrible coffee and told me about your ex-girlfriend who didn't appreciate your terrible jokes. I've been in love with you through every relationship, every breakup, every moment you came to me for advice about women who would never be right for you because they weren't me. Noah's eyes widened, hope and disbelief warring in his expression. You have? I have, Aaron confirmed, his voice breaking on the words. And it's been the most beautiful torture, loving you and thinking I could never have you, watching you search for something I wanted so desperately to give you. Aaron, Noah breathed, his hands coming up to cover Aaron's where they still cupped his face. Why didn't you tell me? Because you were straight, Aaron said with a broken laugh. Because I thought I was protecting our friendship. Because I was terrified of losing you entirely if you knew how I felt. You almost lost me anyway, Noah said softly. I was so confused, so lost. I kept thinking there was something wrong with me, that I was broken somehow. I never considered that maybe I was just looking in the wrong direction. And now? Aaron asked, afraid to hope but unable to stop himself. Now I know exactly what I want, Noah said, his voice steady and sure. I want you, I want this. I want to stop pretending and start living. The space between them seemed to crackle with electricity, years of suppressed longing finally given permission to surface. Aaron could feel Noah's breath on his face, could see the way Noah's eyes kept dropping to his lips before meeting his gaze again. Can I kiss you? Aaron whispered, the question barely audible in the quiet of their apartment. Please, Noah breathed, and then Aaron's lips were on his, soft and tentative at first, then deeper as Noah responded with a hunger that matched Aaron's own. The kiss was everything Aaron had imagined, and nothing like he had expected. It was soft and desperate and perfect, tasting of tears and hope, and the promise of everything they had been too afraid to reach for. Noah's hands tangled in Aaron's hair, pulling him closer, and Aaron felt like he was finally coming home after years of wandering in the wilderness. When they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily, Noah rested his forehead against Aaron's. That felt, he started, then stopped, searching for words. Right, Aaron finished for him. It felt right. Yes, Noah whispered, his eyes fluttering closed. Like everything finally makes sense. They stayed like that for a long moment, foreheads pressed together, sharing breath and space in the overwhelming relief of finally being honest. Aaron could feel his heart racing, could feel the way Noah trembled slightly in his arms, and he knew they were both terrified and exhilarated in equal measure. I'm scared, Noah admitted, his voice small and vulnerable. Me too, Aaron said, pressing a soft kiss to Noah's temple. But I'm tired of being scared. I'm tired of pretending I don't love you. What happens now? Noah asked, pulling back slightly to meet Aaron's eyes. I don't know, Aaron admitted, but I know I want to figure it out with you. I know I want to stop hiding and start living. Noah smiled then, the first real smile Aaron had seen from him in weeks. I want that too. I want to try this, to see what we could be together. Even though it's terrifying? Especially because it's terrifying, Noah said with the law of Fita. The best things usually are. Aaron kissed him again, softer this time, a promise rather than a desperate confession. When they broke apart, Noah settled against Aaron's side, his head on Aaron's shoulder, and for the first time in years, Aaron felt completely at peace. To understand how they had arrived at this moment, the story needed to begin 3 months earlier, on a Tuesday morning when everything had still seemed impossible. Aaron had been making coffee in their small kitchen when Noah had stumbled out of his bedroom, looking like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was disheveled, his eyes red-rimmed, and he was wearing the same clothes from the day before. Rough night? Aaron had asked, trying to keep his voice casual despite the way his heart clenched at Noah's obvious distress. Christine and I had another fight, Noah had said, slumping into one of the kitchen chairs. She says I'm emotionally distant, that I never really let her in. She's not wrong, but I don't know how to explain that it's not about her. It's about me. Aaron had poured Noah a cup of coffee, adding the ridiculous amount of sugar Noah preferred, and set it in front of him. Want to talk about it? That's the problem, Noah had said, wrapping his hands around the warm mug. I don't know how to talk about it. I don't even understand it myself. Every time things get serious with someone, every time they want more from me, I just freeze up. Aaron had wanted to sit down, to offer comfort, but he had forced himself to stay standing, to maintain the careful distance that kept his feelings hidden. Maybe you're just not ready for something serious yet. But I am, Noah had insisted, frustration clear in his voice. At least I think I am. I want to be in love, Aaron. I want to find someone who makes me feel alive, who makes me want to be better. I just don't understand why it's so hard. That conversation had continued for another hour, with Aaron offering advice while his heart broke a little more with each word. Because he could see what Noah couldn't, could see the way Noah's eyes lit up when he talked about connection and understanding. That had been the first crack in Aaron's carefully constructed walls, the moment when he began to hope that maybe, just maybe, Noah's struggles with relationships meant something more than simple commitment issues. The second crack had come 2 weeks later when Noah had brought home another date, a woman named Kelly who was everything Noah claimed to want. She was beautiful, intelligent, successful, and clearly smitten with Noah. Aaron had watched them together over dinner, had seen the way Kelly looked at Noah like he hung the moon. But then he had noticed something else. He had seen the way Noah smiled at Kelly, polite and charming, but somehow hollow. He had watched Noah go through the motions of being interested, asking the right questions and saying the right things, but there had been something missing. After Kelly had left, Noah had found Aaron in the living room, reading a book and trying to pretend he hadn't been listening to their conversation all evening. She's great, Noah had said, settling onto the opposite end of the couch. She seems to really like you, Aaron had replied, not looking up from his book. Yeah, she does. Noah had been quiet for a moment, then added, I should be excited about that, right? She's everything I thought I wanted. Beautiful, smart, funny. We have a lot in common. But, Aaron had prompted, finally looking up. But I feel nothing, Noah had admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I mean, I like her. She's a wonderful person. But when she kissed me goodnight, all I could think about was how it felt like I was going through the motions. The third crack had come a month later when Noah had shown up at Aaron's office completely out of the blue, looking lost and confused. I need to ask you something, Noah had said without preamble, and I need you to be completely honest with me. Aaron had looked up from his computer, concerned by the urgency in Noah's voice. Of course, what's wrong? Do you think it's possible for someone to be gay and not know it? Noah had asked, the words tumbling out in a rush. Like to be so deep in denial that they convince themselves they're straight even when all the evidence points to the contrary. Aaron's heart had stopped beating entirely. I, what brought this on? I was talking to my sister last night, Noah had explained, pacing back and forth in front of Aaron's desk. She was telling me about her friend, who came out at 35, who had been married to a man for 10 years before she realized she was a lesbian. And the way she described it, the way her friend talked about feeling like she was living someone else's life, it sounded so familiar. Aaron had gripped his pen so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Familiar how? Like maybe that's what I've been doing my whole life, Noah had said, stopping his pacing to meet Aaron's eyes. Maybe the reason I can't connect with women the way I'm supposed to is because I'm not supposed to connect with women at all. The confession had hung in the air between them, raw and vulnerable and terrifying. Aaron had wanted to say something, to offer comfort or advice, or just acknowledgement, but he had been frozen by the implications of Noah's words. I don't know, Aaron had finally managed. I think sexuality can be complicated, and sometimes it takes time to understand yourself. Have you ever questioned yours? Noah had asked, his eyes searching Aaron's face with an intensity that made Aaron's skin burn. Yes, Aaron had admitted, because it was the truth, even if it wasn't the whole truth. I think most people have moments of uncertainty. Noah had nodded, seeming to take comfort in the admission. I keep thinking about men differently lately. Not women, but men. Wondering what it would be like to kiss one, to be with one. And the weird thing is, it doesn't scare me the way I thought it would. Aaron had felt like he was drowning, like the air in his office had suddenly become too thick to breathe. Because Noah was describing exactly what Aaron had felt when he first acknowledged his own sexuality. That sounds like something worth exploring, Aaron had said carefully. Yeah, Noah had agreed, his voice soft and thoughtful. I think it is. That conversation had changed everything between them, though neither had acknowledged it at the time. There had been a new tension in their apartment, a heightened awareness of each other that made simple interactions feel charged with electricity. Aaron had found himself hyper-aware of Noah's presence, of the way Noah looked at him, of the moments when their hands brushed while reaching for the same thing. Noah, for his part, had seemed to be studying Aaron with new eyes, as if seeing him for the first time. Their conversations had become deeper, more personal, touching on subjects they had never explored before. They talked about love and connection, about what it meant to truly know another person. The fourth crack in Aaron's walls had come 2 weeks after Noah's office visit during one of these late-night conversations. They had been sitting on their couch, a bottle of wine between them, talking about their worst relationship experiences. I think the problem, Noah had said, his words slightly slurred from the wine, is that I've been looking for the wrong things. I've been trying to check boxes instead of following my heart. What do you mean? Aaron had asked, even though he thought he knew. I mean, I've been dating women because I thought I was supposed to, not because I actually wanted to. I've been trying to force myself to feel things I don't feel while ignoring the things I do feel. And what do you feel? Aaron had asked, his heart hammering against his ribs. Noah had been quiet for a long moment, staring into his wine glass as if it held the answers to all his questions. I feel like I've been living in black and white my whole life, and someone just handed me a box of crayons. The metaphor had hit Aaron like a physical blow because he knew exactly what Noah meant. He remembered his own moment of realization, the way the world had suddenly made sense in a way it never had before. That's beautiful, Aaron had whispered. Is it? Noah had asked, looking up to meet Aaron's eyes. Or is it terrifying? Both, Aaron had admitted. The most beautiful things usually are. They had stared at each other across the small space of the couch, something passing between them that felt like recognition, like a door opening that neither could close again. Aaron had felt the urge to reach out, to touch Noah's face, to close the distance between them, but he had forced himself to stay still. Aaron saw, Noah had said softly, his voice barely audible over the sound of Aaron's racing heart. Yeah? Thank you for being patient with me, for letting me figure this out without judgment. Of course, Aaron had said, though the words had felt inadequate for the magnitude of what he was feeling. I know I've been a mess lately, and I know it probably hasn't been easy to watch. But having you here, having someone who cares about me enough to let me be confused and scared and uncertain, it means everything. Aaron had wanted to tell him men, had wanted to confess everything he had been holding back for years. But something had held him back. Some fear that it was too soon, that Noah needed more time to understand himself before Aaron complicated things with his own feelings. So instead, he had simply said, I'll always be here for you, Noah, no matter what you figure out about yourself. The fifth and final crack had come just a week before the night of Noah's breakdown, during what should have been a casual conversation about weekend plans. Noah had broken up with Kelly the day before, finally admitting to himself and to her that he couldn't keep pretending to feel something he didn't. I'm thinking about going to that new gay bar downtown, Noah had said suddenly, while they were eating breakfast. Just to see what it's like, to see if I feel more comfortable there than I do in regular bars. Aaron had choked on his coffee, not because of what Noah had said, but because of the casual way he had said it, as if coming out to himself and to Aaron was the most natural thing in the world. That sounds like a good idea, Aaron had managed once he had stopped coughing. Want to come with me? Noah had asked, and Aaron's heart had stopped beating entirely. You want me to come with you to a gay bar? Well, yeah, Noah had said, as if it were obvious. You're my best friend, and I'm nervous about going alone. Plus, you're gay, so you could help me navigate if I make an idiot of myself. Aaron had stared at Noah, wondering when exactly he had come out to his roommate and how he had managed to forget such a momentous occasion. When did I tell you I was gay? Aaron had asked carefully. Noah had looked confused for a moment, then understanding had dawned on his face. Oh, you didn't actually. I guess I figured it out. The way you never bring anyone home, the way you talk about relationships, the way you look at men sometimes when you think no one is watching. Aaron had felt exposed and terrified and somehow relieved all at once, because Noah had known, had figured it out on his own, and he was still here, still asking Aaron to come with him to explore his own sexuality. So will you come with me? Noah had pressed. I could really use a friend who understands what this feels like. Of course, Aaron had said, because there was no universe in which he would say no to Noah. They had gone to the bar that Saturday night, and Aaron had watched Noah come alive in a way he had never seen before. Noah had talked to other men, had danced, had kissed a stranger at the bar, while Aaron watched from across the room with his heart breaking and mending in equal measure. How do you feel? Aaron had asked on the ride home. Free, Noah had said immediately. Like I can finally breathe properly for the first time in years. That's amazing, Aaron had said, and meant it, even though his own heart was aching. It is, Noah had agreed. And Aaron, thank you for coming with me tonight. I don't think I could have done it without you. The week that followed had been strange and tense, with Noah going on dates with men he met on apps while Aaron tried to be supportive, despite the way each news story felt like a knife twisting in his chest. Noah had been excited, energetic, full of stories about connections that felt real in a way his relationships with women never had. Then had come the night with Christine, Noah's last attempt at dating a woman, the relationship that had finally broken him completely. Aaron had watched Noah try to force something that wasn't there, had seen him grow more and more miserable as he attempted to convince himself that maybe he had been wrong about his sexuality. The breakup had been inevitable, but it had still devastated Noah, not because he had loved Christine, but because it had forced him to confront the truth he had been trying to avoid. He wasn't confused or going through a phase. He was gay, and all his attempts to convince himself otherwise had only made him more miserable, which brought them back to that Tuesday night, to Noah crying on their couch while Aaron stood frozen in the doorway, watching the man he loved fall apart and finally finding the courage to do something about it. Now, 3 hours after that initial conversation, they were lying in Aaron's bed, fully clothed but wrapped around each other like they were afraid the other might disappear. Noah's head was on Aaron's chest, his breathing finally even and calm, while Aaron ran his fingers through Noah's hair and marveled at the fact that this was real. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up, Noah murmured against Aaron's shirt, that this is all some elaborate dream my subconscious created to torture me. If it is, we're having the same dream, Aaron said softly, which would be either very romantic or very weird. Noah laughed and the sound vibrating through Aaron's chest. Definitely romantic. Though I have to admit, the timing is pretty terrible. I just had a major breakdown and probably look like a disaster. You look perfect, Aaron said, and meant it. Because Noah did look perfect, rumpled and vulnerable and real in a way that made Aaron's heart ache with love. Even with my eyes all red and puffy from crying? Especially with your eyes all red and puffy from crying, Aaron said, pressing a kiss to the top of Noah's head. It means you're finally letting yourself feel things instead of hiding from them. Noah tilted his head up to look at Aaron, his eyes serious and searching. I'm scared I'm going to mess this up. I'm scared I don't know how to be in a relationship with a man, especially with you. Why especially with me? Because you matter too much, Noah said simply. Because losing you would destroy me, and I don't know how to navigate the difference between being your friend and being your, whatever this is, boyfriend, Aaron said softly. If that's what you want, if that's not too scary. Boyfriend, Noah repeated, testing the word on his tongue. I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that a lot. They were quiet for a moment, both adjusting to the new reality of what they had become. Aaron could feel Noah's heartbeat against his side, could smell the familiar scent of Noah's shampoo, could feel the weight of Noah's arm across his stomach. It was everything he had dreamed of, and somehow more. Can I ask you something? Noah said eventually. Anything. When did you know? About me, I mean. When did you start to suspect I might not be as straight as I thought? Aaron considered the question, thinking back over the years of small moments and growing suspicions. I think part of me always hoped, he admitted, but I started to really suspect during your relationship with Barbara last year. You remember her? The lawyer, Noah said with a grimace. God, that was a disaster. You came home from dates with her looking like you'd been to a funeral, Aaron said, and you kept telling me how perfect she was on paper, how she checked all the right boxes, but you never talked about her the way people talk about someone they're falling in love with. How do people talk about someone they're falling in love with? Aaron smiled, running his fingers through Noah's hair again. The way you talked about that guy from the bar last week. Like they lit something up inside you that you didn't even know was there. Noah was quiet for a moment, processing this. I did feel something with him that I'd never felt with a woman, but it wasn't love. It was just recognition, I guess. Like my body was finally responding the way it was supposed to. And how does this feel? Aaron asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Being here with me. Noah shifted so he could look directly into Aaron's eyes. Like coming home, he said simply. Like everything I've been searching for was right here the whole time. The words hit Aaron like a physical blow, knocking the air from his lungs with their simple honesty. Because that was exactly how it felt. Like coming home after years of wandering in the wilderness. I love you, Aaron said, the words spilling out before he could stop them. I know it's too soon to say that. I know we just figured this out tonight, but I've loved you for so long that I can't hold it back anymore. It's not too soon, Noah said, his voice thick with emotion, because I love you too. I think I have for months. I just didn't understand what the feeling was. I thought it was just friendship, just caring about you as my roommate and my best friend. But it was more than that, wasn't it? Yeah, Aaron breathed. It was so much more than that. Noah leaned up and kissed him then, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, Noah settled back against Aaron's chest with a contented sigh. What happens now? Noah asked. With us, I mean. Do we tell people? Do we figure out how to be a couple? Do we take things slow or just dive in head first? I don't know, Aaron admitted. I've never been in this situation before. I've never gone from hiding my feelings to having them reciprocated all in one night. Well, Noah said with a smile in his voice, I've never gone from thinking I was straight to having a boyfriend in one night, so we're both in uncharted territory. Boyfriend, Aaron repeated, the words sending warmth flooding through his chest. I really like the sound of that. Me too, Noah said. Though I have to warn you, I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never been anyone's boyfriend before. Neither have I, Aaron said. We can figure it out together. 3 weeks later, Aaron woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of Noah humming in the kitchen. It had become their new normal, this easy domestic routine where Noah made coffee in the mornings while Aaron showered, where they shared breakfast and discussed their days and kissed goodbye before heading to work. The transition from friends to boyfriends had been surprisingly smooth, as if they had been meant for this all along. There had been moments of awkwardness, times when they both forgot they were allowed to touch each other now, allowed to say the things they had been holding back for so long. But mostly it had felt natural, like stepping into a life that had been waiting for them. Noah had been nervous about telling people at first, worried about how his family would react, how his coworkers would handle the news. But each conversation had gone better than expected, with most people expressing surprise, but also a kind of retrospective understanding. Your sister said she always wondered, Noah had told Aaron after a particularly emotional phone call with his family. She said I never seemed genuinely happy with any of the women I dated, that there was always something missing in my voice when I talked about them. And now, Aaron had asked, now she says I sound like a completely different person when I talk about you. Happy in a way I've never been before. Aaron had kissed him then, overwhelmed by gratitude for Noah's family and their acceptance, for the way they had welcomed Aaron into their lives without hesitation. The physical aspect of their relationship had developed slowly, with both of them taking time to learn each other's bodies and preferences. Noah had been nervous at first, worried that his inexperience with men would be obvious, but Aaron had been patient and gentle. I can't believe I waited so long to figure this out, Noah had said one night after they had made love for the first time. I can't believe I spent so many years trying to force myself to want something I didn't want, when what I actually wanted was right here. You weren't ready before, Aaron had said, tracing patterns on Noah's chest with his fingertips. You needed time to understand yourself. But you were ready, Noah had pointed out. You knew what you wanted and you waited for me to catch up. That must have been incredibly difficult. It was, Aaron had admitted, but it was also worth it. Every moment of waiting was worth it to get to this. Now, as Aaron padded into the kitchen in his pajamas, he found Noah standing at the counter in one of Aaron's t-shirts, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. The sight still took Aaron's breath away, the casual intimacy of it, the way Noah moved around their kitchen like he belonged there completely. Good morning, Noah said, turning to smile at Aaron with the kind of warmth that made Aaron's heart skip a beat. Good morning, Orthain, Aaron replied, wrapping his arms around Noah from behind and pressing a kiss to his neck. Sleep well? Better than I have in years, Noah said, leaning back into Aaron's embrace. I love waking up next to you. Even when I steal all the covers? Especially when you steal all the covers, Noah said with a laugh. It gives me an excuse to move closer. They stood like that for a moment, wrapped around each other in the morning light streaming through their kitchen window. And Aaron marveled at how perfect it felt. This was what he had dreamed of during all those lonely nights. This easy intimacy, this sense of belonging completely to another person. I have something to tell you, Noah said, turning in Aaron's arms to face him. What's that? I've been thinking about moving out, Noah said, and Aaron's heart stopped beating entirely. What? Aaron managed, his voice barely above a whisper. Not moving out, Noah clarified quickly, seeing the panic in Aaron's eyes. Moving out of my room, moving into yours, officially, I mean. We've been sleeping in the same bed for 3 weeks anyway, and my room is just sitting there empty. Aaron's relief was so intense it made him dizzy. You want to move in together? Like, really move in together? I want to wake up next to you every morning for the rest of my life, Noah said simply. I want to share a closet and argue about whose turn it is to do laundry and fall asleep holding you every night. Aaron kissed him then, deep and desperate and full of love, backing Noah against the kitchen counter and pouring every emotion he couldn't express into the connection between their lips. Is that a yes? Noah asked when they finally broke apart, both breathing heavily. That's the most enthusiastic yes in the history of the world, Aaron said, resting his forehead against Noah's. They spent the morning relocating Noah's belongings, laughing as they tried to fit two people's worth of clothes into one closet, debating the best arrangement for their books, and marveling at how natural it felt to combine their lives so completely. This is perfect, Noah said that evening, as they lay in bed surrounded by the evidence of their newly shared space. This is everything I didn't know I wanted. What do you mean? I mean, I spent so many years thinking that I knew what love was supposed to look like, what a relationship was supposed to feel like. But it never felt like this. It never felt like home. Aaron pulled Noah closer, pressing a kiss to his temple. It feels like home to me, too. Like everything I've been searching for was right here all along. 6 months later, Aaron stood in their bedroom, watching Noah get dressed for his company's holiday party. It was the first work event Noah would attend with Aaron as his boyfriend. The first time he would introduce Aaron as his partner rather than just his roommate. You're nervous, Aaron observed, noting the way Noah's hands shook slightly as he adjusted his tie. Terrified, Noah admitted. What if they treat me differently? What if everything changes at work? Then you'll handle it, Aaron said, moving to stand behind Noah and fixing his tie properly. And if anyone has a problem with you being gay, that's their issue, not yours. When did you get so wise about this stuff? Noah asked, meeting Aaron's eyes in the mirror. When I fell in love with someone worth being brave for, Aaron said, pressing a kiss to Noah's neck. The party went better than either of them had expected. Noah's coworkers were surprised but supportive, and several people mentioned that they had always wondered about Noah's love life, that his happiness over the past few months had been obvious to everyone. You look different, Noah's boss had said during a quiet moment. Settled, I guess, like you figured something important out. I have, Noah had replied, his arm around Aaron's waist. I've figured out what makes me happy. On the drive home, Noah had been quiet, processing the evening and the reactions of his colleagues. How do you feel? Aaron asked as they pulled into their apartment complex. Free, Noah said, the same word he had used after their first night at the gay bar. Like I don't have to hide anymore. Like I can just be myself without worrying about what people think. That's a good feeling. It's the best feeling, Noah agreed. And it's all because of you, because you love me enough to let me figure it out on my own timeline. As they walked up to their apartment, Aaron reflected on everything that had changed in the past year. Noah had come out to his family, had started attending LGBTQ events with Aaron, had thrown himself into learning about queer history and culture with the same enthusiasm he brought to everything else. I never thought I'd be the kind of person who goes to pride parades, Noah had said after their first pride together, his face sunburned and his shirt covered in rainbow stickers. But there's something incredible about being surrounded by people who understand what it's like to discover yourself later in life. That night, as they got ready for bed in their shared space, Aaron marveled at how natural their routine had become. Noah brushed his teeth while Aaron washed his face. They took turns changing into pajamas, and they settled into bed with the easy familiarity of a couple who had been together for years. Aaron, Noah said as they lay in the dark, Aaron's arm around Noah's waist. Yeah? Do you ever wonder what would have happened if you had told me how you felt earlier? Like if you had confessed your feelings a year ago before I started questioning my sexuality? Aaron considered the question, one he had asked himself many times. Sometimes, he admitted, but I think it worked out the way it was supposed to. You needed to figure out who you were on your own before you could figure out what you wanted with me. You think so? I know so, Aaron said, because the Noah who's lying here with me now, the one who knows himself and is comfortable with his sexuality, this is the Noah I was meant to fall in love with. Noah turned in Aaron's arms so they were facing each other in the dim light filtering through their bedroom window. I have something to tell you, he said, his voice soft but serious. What's that? I've been thinking about the future a lot lately. about what I want our life to look like in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. Aaron's heart started beating faster, wondering where this conversation was leading. And, he prompted, and I want it all with you, Noah said simply. I want to adopt a doll and argue about what to name it. I want to save money for a house with a real kitchen and a yard. I want to travel together and see the world and come home to each other every night. I want to grow old with you, Aaron. Aaron felt tears spill over into his cheeks, overwhelmed by the picture Noah was painting, by the future he was offering. I want all of that too, Aaron whispered. Every single piece of it. Really? Really, Aaron confirmed. I've wanted it since the day I met you, even when I thought it was impossible. Noah kissed him then, deep and desperate and full of promise, and Aaron felt like he was falling in love all over again. When they broke apart, both breathing heavily, Noah rested his forehead against Aaron's. Then let's do it, Noah said. Let's build something beautiful together. We already are, Aaron replied. We've been building it since the night you cried on our couch, and I finally found the courage to tell you how I felt. They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other and whispering about their future, about all the beautiful possibilities stretching out ahead of them. And Aaron drifted off with a smile on his face, thinking about how sometimes the most beautiful love stories were the ones that caught you completely off guard, the ones that grew slowly from friendship into something deeper and more profound than anything you had ever imagined possible. A year and a half after that first night on the couch, Aaron found himself standing in the kitchen of their new apartment, a place with the real kitchen and yard Noah had dreamed about. They had adopted a Duquoum, a golden retriever mix they had compromised on naming Charlie after a week of good-natured arguing. They had traveled together, taking a trip to Europe where Noah had proposed to Aaron on a bridge in Paris. Now, as Aaron watched Noah play with Charlie in their backyard through the kitchen window, he reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. It had been messy and complicated and sometimes painful, but it had also been the most beautiful thing Aaron had ever experienced. Noah looked up from where he was throwing a tennis ball for Charlie and caught Aaron watching him through the window. He smiled and waved, and Aaron felt his heart skip a beat the way it always did when Noah looked at him like that, like Aaron was the most important thing in his world. I love you, Aaron mouthed through the glass. I love you too, Noah mouthed back, then made an exaggerated gesture toward the kitchen, clearly asking if Aaron needed help with dinner. Aaron shook his head and made a shooing motion, indicating that Noah should keep playing with Charlie. Noah laughed and gave him a thumbs up before turning back to the dog. As Aaron returned to preparing dinner, he thought about all the moments that had led them here. The late-night conversations, the gradual realization, the first kiss, the first fight, the first time they said I love you, the decision to move in together, the proposal. Each moment had been a building block in the foundation of their relationship, each conversation a thread in the tapestry of their love story. And Aaron knew that there would be many more moments to come, many more conversations and discoveries and challenges and joys. Dinner's ready, Aaron called through the back door, and Noah came jogging in with Charlie at his heels, both of them slightly out of breath and grinning. Smells amazing, Noah said, wrapping his arms around Aaron from behind and pressing a kiss to his neck. What did I do to deserve you? You were brave enough to question everything you thought you knew about yourself, Aaron said, leaning back into Noah's embrace. You were brave enough to choose love over fear. We both were, Noah said. We chose each other, even when it was scary, even when we didn't know how it would work out. Best decision I ever made, Aaron said, turning in Noah's arms to face him. Mine too, Noah agreed, then kissed Aaron softly, a kiss full of gratitude and love, and the promise of all the tomorrows stretching out ahead of them. As they sat down to dinner in their beautiful kitchen, with Charlie settled at their feet and the evening light streaming through their windows, Aaron felt a deep sense of contentment settle over him. This was what happiness looked like, he realized. Not the dramatic, overwhelming emotion he had expected, but this quiet, steady sense of rightness, of being exactly where he belonged with exactly the right person. What are you thinking about? Noah asked, noticing Aaron's contemplative expression. Just this, Aaron said, gesturing around their kitchen at their life together. How perfect it is, even with all the imperfections. Like how Charlie drools on everything and I still can't figure out how to load the dishwasher properly. Especially those things, Aaron said with a laugh, because they're ours. Because this messy, imperfect, beautiful life is something we built together. Noah reached across the table and took Aaron's hand, intertwining their fingers in a gesture that had become as natural as breathing. I used to think I was broken, Noah said quietly. I used to think there was something fundamentally wrong with me because I couldn't make relationships work the way they were supposed to. But I wasn't broken. I was just looking in the wrong direction. And now? Now I know that sometimes the most important discoveries are the ones that take the longest to make, Noah said. I know that love isn't always what you expect it to be, but it's always worth waiting for when it's real. Aaron brought Noah's hand to his lips and pressed a soft kiss to his knuckles. I would wait for you again, he said, 100 times, 1,000 times. I would wait forever if it meant getting to have this. You don't have to wait anymore, Noah said, his eyes bright with unshed tears. I'm here, I'm yours, and I'm not going anywhere. Promise? Promise, Noah said, for better or worse, in sickness and in health, for richer or poorer, until death do us part. Are you practicing your wedding vows on me? Aaron asked with a grin. Maybe, Noah said, blushing slightly. Is it working? It's working, Aaron confirmed, though you might want to save some material for the actual ceremony. Later, as they settled into bed in their new bedroom, Aaron reflected on how much had changed since that night on their old couch when Noah had cried in his arms and everything had finally shifted into place. They had grown together, learned together, built something beautiful together. And Aaron knew that this was just the beginning, that they had decades of growth and discovery and love ahead of them. Aaron, Noah said softly in the darkness. Yeah? Thank you for being patient with me, for letting me figure out who I was without pressure or judgment, for loving me enough to wait for me to catch up. Thank you for being brave enough to question everything, Aaron replied, for choosing authenticity over comfort, for choosing love over fear, for choosing me. Always, Noah whispered, I will always choose you. And as they drifted off to sleep in their shared bed, in their shared home, surrounded by the life they had built together, Aaron smiled and thought about how sometimes the most beautiful love stories were the ones that began with friendship, that grew slowly and carefully, that required patience and courage and faith.